Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students, I'm Jitesh Kola and today we are going to start with Unit 2 of Class 12 Sociology, that is Structure of Society. This unit we have divided into two parts. In the first part of this unit, we will do the discussion over social demographic structure, in which we will talk about the population growth, we'll talk about birth rate, death rate, mortality rate. We'll do the discussion over migration, we'll talk about age and sex composition, rural and urban distribution. In the second part of this chapter, we are going to do the discussion over the rural-urban divides and linkages in India. So, let's start with the chapter. Here, in the first part of chapter, as we are going to do the discussion over the social demographic structure. So, firstly, we need to understand the meaning of the social demography. That what does it mean? You can see that this term demography has been derived from the two different terms. One is, if we talk about demo, and the another one is graphy. So we'll do the discussion over that. Here we can see that the term demography was first used in 1885 by Galliard. The etymologically, if we talk about demography, means the systematic study of people and various related aspects, because if we talk about demo means people, and if we talk about the another part of this spelling, that is graphy, it means study or the science also we can say. So how we can define the term demography? It means the systematic study of people. Clear? So that will be demography. So social demography, if we talk about, we are going to do the systematic study of the people, those who are living in a particular society. Formal demography is mathematical study of demographic processes, like while we are taking the factors fertility, mortality, migrations, and demographic structure. We are going to talk about different other factors we are going to include in that. For example, we'll do the discussion over the age composition, we'll talk about the sex composition and the size of the population. So hopefully it is clear that while we are talking about the demographic processes, what are the different factors we'll consider? Fertility, mortality, migration, these are going to be the factor for that. For demographic structure, we are going to consider sex composition, age composition and the size of the population. In India, basically we talk about information on population is available from the census of India. What does census mean? Census means the survey, and in India we talk about the census is done after every 10 years. So if we talk about the last census was done on 1st March 2011. Now it was supposed to be done in 2021, but let's see, due to the pandemic might be delayed, or we'll see that when it is going to be done, but last was done in 2011. And as we know, the census is done once in 10 years. What do we call it? We also call it decennial census, because you know that decade we used to use the word for 10 years, so that's why we call it as a decennial census also. Now, under this social demographic, we are going to take the first main topic, that is population. We are going to take the main topic, that is population growth. What does population growth mean? Some idea you might be getting. When we are talking about the growth, it gives us the idea about increase in number, means which is increasing. Growth is always related to increase. Population growth, if we talk about, is an important factor which comes under social demography, where we have to do the study over the people. And here when we are studying about population, the number of the people living in particular area or particular territory, so that is an important factor. And later on further we are going to divide it, or we are going to do the further classification later. The size of India population, if we talk about, is very large. India is the second most populous country in the world after China. We all are very well aware about that. India supports around 17.5% of the world's population, and you know how much area we are covering. Land, if we talk about, that is only 2.4%. So we can see that high population growth is there. So land is less, but the population is very high, and that is putting pressure on land. We all are aware about these factors when the population is high, and in that situation so many factors are there, so many situations can be created which will affect the development of any country. As per the provisional population census of 2011 that was done last time, India's population was counted around 1.21 billion. And if we talk about when the segregation was done of that population based on the sex composition, means males and females, so it was found that around 6.23 million males were there and around 5.86 million females were there. You can see the ratio, males are more in number as compared to females. The large size of India's population is due to rapid population growth. Why the large size of India population? Why it is so? Because there is a rapid population growth. It was not from the beginning that the same way the population was growing like that, but so many factors started taking place because of which it helped in increased growth rate of the population. It led to rapid population growth rate. In 1901, if we talk about in 1901, India's population was only 238.3 million. Clear? That was 23.83 crore. In 1991, if we talk about after so many years, in 1991, if we talk about the population after 90 years around, the population was 843 million or 84 or 84.39 crore, and which further grown to 1.028 billion in 2001. So we have seen that what was the population in 1901 and later on what it increased to. Population growth means, if we talk about the population growth means increase in the size of population, the number of people increasing, the birth taking place in the country, the high birth rate can lead to that population growth. So always the high birth rate is going to be the one of the factor for this population growth. It takes place because the number of people born is greater than the number of people who die, means birth rate is more than death rate in that case, because when we are talking about population growth, it's increasing, rapid increase is there in the population growth, and that is just because of the factor birth rate is higher than death rate, means more number of people are taking birth as compared to those who are dying. Population growth can take place if people come into the area. That is another factor that we are going to further divide it as the migration. What do we call it? When the people are moving from one place to another place, we call it migration, and that is also the one of the reason which leads to population growth of that particular area. Here this is known as immigration. If you are moving from one place to or from outside, the people, if from outside the people come into that particular area, so we actually call it immigration. Movement of people from one place to another place is migration. But when you are specifically talking that from outside the people are coming to your area, they are coming inside your area or your territory or your state or country, we call it as immigration. But the people also can go out of the country, we know very well, so we call it as a emigration when they are moving out. Clear? So immigration when somebody is coming to your area, and emigration when they are moving out. The difference between immigration and emigration, we call it as a migration. The number of people coming and number of people going out, the difference between these two will be taken as the migration. Here we have discussed about the different factors related to population growth. We talked about the birth rate and death rate. Why? Any idea why this birth rate is high and death rate is less? Yes, the medical facilities, the proper facilities have started taking place, and which is leading to less death as compared to birth rate. Means better, earlier if we talk about, if we compare the data earlier, birth rate was also high, death rate was also high, but slowly and gradually changes in the medical facilities and other facilities started for the if we talk about the government has started so many welfare programs also for the benefit or for creating the awareness among the people for health. So that has led to less death rate. Then we talked about the migration. Migration, we have discussed how it is divided into two parts. Those who are coming inside our country, we have taken it immigration, and those who are going out, we have taken it as emigration. While we are considering these factors, population growth rate can be measured. While we are considering these factors, population growth rate can be measured as follows. Present size of the population you have to count, that can be calculated through census when we are doing the survey and collecting the data that how many people are living in particular territory or area. Then we have to add the difference between the birth rate and death rate. We have to add the difference between these two. Then we have to add the difference between immigrants and emigrants. So that is actually migration, we call it. We have to add on that one also. So in this way we can find out or we can calculate the population growth rate. Following our population growth rates in India. In India, we talk about for 10-year decades, population growth in 2001 and 2011 is 17.64%. Annual growth rate, if we talk about, that was in 2013 was 1.25%. So the next topic we are going to take fertility and birth rate. Before proceeding, we need to understand the meaning of this term fertility and how to calculate this birth rate. So let's start with that. Fertility, if we talk about, it refers to the number of children that are born to a women. Here in India, if we talk about 1995 to 2000, between that time period, the fertility rate was 3.3, and as per the survey of 2013, it was 2.3. Now, if we are talking, and here this was the average number of children born to a women. It shows that average number of children born to a women in India. Here the next birth rate. Birth rate, if we talk about, that is the number of live births taking place in a year in any specified area. It can be a country or a state per 1,000 persons living in that area. So this is the way to calculate birth rate, means live births divided by per 1,000 persons living in that area. So we have to calculate birth rate like that. In 1951, if we talk about, the estimated birth rate was 40. It was estimated to be 27.4, while it was 40, and it was estimated to be 27.4 in 1991. Means it was showing that it started declining. And in 2006, if we talk about, it had declined to 23.5, and further it declined to 20.22 in 2013. Here if we talk about that, what were the main reasons? Although we have seen that there was a decline in the number of births taking place in India with each passing year, with the passing years there, we have seen that birth rate was declining. But If we talk about in the past, some of the reasons were there which were responsible for the high birth rate in India in the past. And what were these reasons? If we talk about, the first one was universality of marriage because of religious beliefs. Secondly, early marriage was also the reason for high birth rate. Earlier, the importance given to childbearing by a women. So that was also the factor which was, that's why it is also a factor which was leading to high birth rate in earlier time. Then besides that, economic, social, cultural and religious value of children was also playing an important role in increasing birth rate. And ultimately the biggest reason was the desire for a son. So all these factors were responsible for high birth rate in past years if we talk about. Another topic we have, death or mortality rate. Mortality means simply death only. Different important measures are there for mortality, like death rate, expectation of life at birth. We call it as life expectancy, means how long a child is going to survive. So we call it how long child will survive. So we'll call it as life expectancy. And infant mortality rate. Infant mortality rate, the number of children, those who are dying within 1 year. So that will be infant. Infant means newborn. The ratio, their rate, we are going to include the children, those who are dying before the age of 1 year. In the initial stage of their birth, if they are dying, so that will be taken as infant mortality rate. In the past, if we talk about, death rate in India was very high. As we have seen, birth rate was also very high in India. In the past, if we talk about, same way the death rate was also very high. We have already discussed the factors leading to high birth rate. Here, later on, since 1951, if we talk about, it started declining. This death rate also started declining. In 1991, it was estimated to just 10. In 2001, it was only 8. 2006, it further declined to 7.5, and in 2013, it further gone down to 7.4. The major reason we are going to discuss here, that what were the major reasons for this high birth rate in India. We are going to discuss the major reasons for decline in death rate. What were these reasons? Improvement in health facilities can be the one. The different facilities started taking place in health sector, so it led to decline in the death rate. Infant mortality is the death of children. The term we have already discussed. Here we can understand the meaning of that. Infant mortality means the death of children who have not completed even the age of 1 year. And this rate is the number of infants dying in a year per 1,000 live births. Clear? In 1969, if we talk about, infant mortality rate was 140. 2001, it reached to 71, and further it declined to 40. With the decline in death rate, life expectancy has gradually risen. Here we can see, when the death rate was declining, the life expectancy increased, means the chances of people for surviving for longer period of time, it has started increasing because of the better health facilities they started getting. The education was also creating awareness among them. The people started becoming more health consciousness. So all these factors led to decline in death rate, and it led to, on the other hand, it led to increased life expectancy rate also. In 1931, if we talk about, life expectancy was only 26.8 years. An average age, if we talk about, of a person who were able to survive was only 26.8. That we are talking about 1931. But it had risen gradually in 2001, that is 65 years and above, and later in 2011, if we talk about it increased to 68.89 years. So we can say that how the improvement, was taking place in health sector, and that improvement in health sector, the better facilities for the people, the hospitals, the increased in the number of the hospitals and other medical facilities, different awareness programs started by the government were creating these differences, where the life expectancy of the people increased and death rate declined. But birth rate, if we talk about, was very high, but that was also declining as compared to earlier time. The next topic under social demographic structure, we are going to take migration. Migration, we know that the movement of people from one place to another place, and that also different factors, pull and push factors can be there for that migration. For different reasons and for different purposes, people are moving from one place to another place in search of better job opportunities, we can say, in search of better health facilities, or so many reasons are there for which the people from one place to another place can move. Here, if we talk about, we also called it special movement. We also call this migration as a special movement because it is related to occupying the particular area. While the movement is taking place of people from one place to another place, and they are going to settle down in that particular area. So that's why we call it as a special movement also. Clear? Migration, if we talk about, it can be internal or external. When we are going to take it as internal, if it takes place within a country, if from one state to another state you are moving, so we are going to call it as an internal migration. Or international, we are going to call if it is a movement from one country to another country. So hopefully it is clear. Internal and external, or mainly the title can be given as the international. So we can take it as internal movement or the internal migration of the people when the people are doing the movement within the political boundary of a country from one state to another state. Clear? And you need to understand, in that case, if such kind of migration is taking place, there is no impact on the country's population. The country population is neither going to increase nor going to increase in that case. Clear? But if we are talking about the population of that particular state from where the people are moving out and in which particular state the people are moving in, so in that area, in that particular state, the population can be affected. Clear? We were talking about the international migration. So that also we have understood that while the movement is there from one particular country to another country, although this international migration is not that much significant in case of India. International migration can be local and or regional. Clear? That can be related to one particular area to another area, or one particular region or state to another. Internal migration can also be short term or long term. Sometimes the people moving from one place to another place for shorter period of time, or it can also be the longer period of time. So both the cases can be, or both the situation are possible in case of this internal migration. Clear? You might have seen that many of the people from one particular state are moving to another state in search of better job opportunity. From all over the India, we talk about many of the people are coming to Delhi or NCR or such in the biggest states like Maharashtra, Pune, the IT state we talk about, for better job opportunities. So these all are the example of this internal migration, because migration taking place within the political boundaries of a country. In India, in 2001, if we talk about, the proportion of migrants in population was 28%, and most of them were internal migrants. That's why we have mentioned that international migration is not that much significant in case of India. Means people are moving but not that much. That is very less. But internal migration is at very high level and many people are moving from one place to another place. So that is of more concern. Next, we are going to talk about the next topic. We are going to talk about age and sex composition. If we talk about age composition, means based on the different age groups. Here we'll do the discussion over the division of the population based on the different age groups. And if we are going to talk about the sex composition, it means sex composition means division of the population based on females or males. That how the population is divided among these two categories. Clear? Age composition and sex composition, if we talk about, these are the biological factors that have important socio-economic implications also. We'll understand that how these two factors, these both compositions are important. Firstly, we are going to do the discussion over this age composition. According to this age composition, the population of the country is divided in mainly three categories. You can see here, these are the three important age groups that we are going to consider here. 0 to 14 years, mainly the children are under this category. Then 15 to 59 years, the adults will come under this category. And next is 60 years and above, old age people will come under this third category. Here we can see 0 to 14 years are mainly dependent. Clear? 15 to 59 years people, if we talk about, they are independent and most of the time they are working. Exceptional cases are there if they are not unemployed. 60 years and above, if we talk about, these are also dependent. And where these two are dependent, the children if we talk about, or the children if we talk about, and the old age people, both are dependent on these second category, that second age group, the working. These are economically productive. This group, second group if we talk about, is economically productive. The one, those who are between 15 to 59 years, those who are working. This we also called as a working age group. And they are economically productive because they are the earning people. They are earning, and rest to the first category, that is the children, and the next category, that is the old age people, they both are dependent on this working age group. Clear? Many times it happens when the retirement age has increased. In that case, or many of the people after even retirement, they are also working, but their percentage is very less. So in general, if we talk about, we are going to consider that these two age group people are always dependent on the second working class people. Here, if we talk about, these are economically unproductive, and these 60 years and above are also economically unproductive, in except some cases where after this retirement people working. Clear? In 2009, if we talk about 31.2% of the population was in the age group 0 to 14 years. So we can see the ratio, that was 31.2% people were there in the age group of 0 to 14 years, and 5.3% was above 60 years of age. Means 31.2 plus 5.3 are the ones, those who were dependent on the second category, that is second age group, the one, those who are the working. In recent year, if we talk about, the proportion of those who are above the age year has started slowly. In recent years, if we talk about, the proportion of those above 60 years has been slowly rising. Clear? Their proportion started increasing, means more people are coming under this category. Those who are unproductive, those who are not working after 60 years of age. So that is going to create the pressure, and that is the division of the society or the structure of the society we are talking about based on the different age group. Now we are moving to the next one, that is, it is sex composition, means the division of the population based on females or males. Here, according to Census of India, sex ratio or the gender ratio also we call it refers to the number of females per 1000 males. You all must be aware that if we talk about in our country, that ratio is not that much good, because number of female is less as compared to number of males, which shows somewhere it is giving the indication. It is the indication, or this sex composition, the rate of the sex composition is going to give us the indication about the condition of the country, that whether it is the developed one, whether the women are getting equal opportunities or not. So all these are the factors which we can consider based on the sex composition. Here, if we talk about in India, since 1901, the sex ratio or the gender ratio has been adverse to females. It was very adverse, or we can say that the poor ratio was found because the number of females were very less at that time as compared to males. According to 2011 provisional census, there are only 940 females and over 1000 males. So that is also not good. Means if we talk about, either it should be equal or it should be at least equal, if not more than that. So that was only 940 females over 1000 males. So somewhere it shows the discrimination going on with the female child. We all are aware that what are the different factors leading to these, what are the conservative thoughts of the people, the conservative beliefs of the people, somewhere creating the problems for female child. And that's why we are not able to cope up with this problem that is prevailing in our society. Here, if we talk about, not all the areas of the country are having the same. If we take the example of Kerala is very good example where the number of female child is more as compared to male child. According to the survey or the data, if you are going to collect, if you will check the data, that it was equal earlier and at some point it was more than the male child. So it shows that how the education and the knowledge, somewhere these sort of and the health facilities can provide the better opportunities for improving the condition of the people, those who are living in the society. You need to change your mindset. So many, because if we talk about, as we were talking about, that few traditional values are there, or few orthodox people are there, those who are still stuck to those traditions and values, and somewhere it is impacting. But here Kerala is giving us the good example which can motivate the other areas also. In Haryana and Rajasthan, if we talk about the particular states, this ratio was very poor. Now it has started improving, but still we are lagging behind in that. So now if we talk about the sex ratio and gender ratio, is an important indicator of the status of women. Indicator which gives you the idea about the society, that what particular sort of society you are living in. If this ratio is equal, it shows that equal opportunities are given to both male and female. But if this ratio is less, the female are less as compared to male, it shows the discrimination is going on. But here still we are working on that, and hopefully in future we are going to cope up with this problem and changes will be brought, and our country is also going to have the equal gender ratio in our country. The another factor of social demographic structure is division of rural and urban population. That is, rural and urban distribution we are going to talk about now. Here if we talk about rural and urban distribution, before that we need to understand the meaning of this term rural. It means related to village. And urban, it is related to towns or cities, means the number of people, those who are living in particular rural area, villages, and the number of the people, those who are living in towns and cities. Earlier, if we talk about, the population was living in rural areas only, but later on, with the introduction of industrialization and many other factors and emergence of towns and cities, the population started shifting to these areas. And different factors are also responsible for that. If we talk about rural areas and villages, push factors are working. Push factors means lack of job opportunities are there, lower standard of living is there. So all these are factors which are pushing the people from there to towns and cities in search of new and better job opportunities. Urban areas, if we talk about, they are working on pull factors. What are these pull factors? Means they are attracting more and more people from the rural areas, from the particular this local areas to their own towns. And urban areas, if we talk about, they are working on pull factor, where they are attracting more and more people from rural areas or villages to towns and cities, by giving them or providing them the better job opportunities, better health facilities, better infrastructure. So all these factors will come under the pull factor of urban areas. Clear? So here we can see in our country, population divided into these two parts. Although still most of the population of the country we talk about is residing in rural areas or villages, but we can see that due to the passage of time, we have seen that population started shifting to urban areas or the cities or towns. So we'll talk about that distribution only. Here we can see that rural and urban distribution means the proportion of those living in rural areas, mainly the villages, and in urban centers or towns and cities. Clear? In 2001, if we talk about, around 72% of the population was rural, means they were living in villages, whereas only 28% population was living in urban areas. But later on, as per the census of India 2011, provisional population totals, India's urban population, if we talk about, is 31.16%. So we can compare it. Earlier it was 28, and then by 2011, if we talk about, it increased that much, that now it is 31.16%, and remaining 68.84% are still living in rural areas. So earlier it was 72, but now their number has decreased. The percentage has decreased. So here we can see that how the population is divided, and on what are the factors and how this division is, the structure of the society has been formed between rural and urban areas. Clear? The next factor of social demographic structure we are going to take, that is literacy. Literacy means ability to read and write in any of the language. Literacy rate is the percentage of population who are literate, those who are educated, those who are able to read and write in any of the language. In India, if we talk about, it is calculated for those who are 7 years and above the age. See, those who are above the 7 year of age and able to read and write any of the language, they will be considered as literate one. As per the census of 2011 provisional population totals, the literacy rate of India as a whole was found 74.04%. Clear? Still we are lagging behind. Still in many of the rural areas, if we talk about, we have not started the schools. Still the people are not sending their children to school due to lack of awareness, due to lack of educational facilities in those areas. So still somewhere we are lagging behind, and ultimately it is affecting the development of our country. So that is the scenario of literacy in our country. And here this 74.04% that they have given the literacy rate of India, we are going to talk about further that how it is divided among male and female. Out of the 74.04%, if we talk about 82.14 are men, means 82.14% literate men or males are there. And if we talk about for women, only 65.46% are there. So it shows that it is much higher among the male as compared to the females. Means somewhere different factors are there which are responsible for creating this kind of discrimination among the males and females. Still in many of the families, they did not allow their girl child to go for the higher education. Although different programs were started by the government, you must be knowing that SSA, Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, it means under that the elementary education was made compulsory for each and every child up to the age of 14 years. Midday meal program was also started. That was the part of our education system only, and basically it was started to encourage more and more children basically, and mainly the rural children, to be the part of this education system. They should get encouraged to get education. So all these different programs were started just to reduce the difference between this literacy rate, where we can see that men, and see even in the cities and towns, if we talk about, although the situation is improving, many schools are opening up, but still we are lagging behind, and more better facilities are required, more these motivational programs are required, more awareness program we need to start from the root level. From the root level, if we are talking about from the local level, where people are getting to know about the importance of education, not only for a male child but also for a girl child, so that they can be independent in future. So all these things are there. How the society is classified, we have discussed on the different factors. The another part of that topic, we are going to discuss the present population policy in India. As we know that India stands for second position after China in population, and as compared to the area we talk about, only we are occupying 2.4% of the land of the whole world, and which is very less, and the population is very high. The population policy in India aims chiefly at reducing the population growth by reducing the birth rate. So what is the main focus of this population policy? Just to reduction we want in the population, means less birth rate must be there, because we have already controlled death rate with the better health facilities and with the other facilities. We have already controlled death rate, but we need to control the birth rate also. The family planning program with various birth control measures was introduced in 1952 with the same aim. What was done, this kind of family planning program was started during the first 5-year plan after independence in between 1951 to 1956, because at that time the main focus was just to control the population of the country. But this program gained momentum only after 1966, when a separate department of family planning was established, when they started focusing mainly on this purpose. When it was found that after 1952, when this program was initiated, it was not that much helpful. Then it was taken that need to organize or need to form the separate department for that, and that family planning separate department was established. During the period of 1960 to 1970, the government carried out a campaign titled KAP. These all are the initiative taken by the government at that time. That was knowledge, attitude and practice. This program was started just to make the people just to make the people aware about the family planning. These programs were started so that somewhere they can create awareness among the people and the population could be controlled. In 1976, if we talk about, the National Population Policy was formulated for the first time. So they started National Population Policy, because earlier the name was given that family planning. Okay, but now they came on the main issue, that is they started their National Population Policy. Its midterm aim was to bring the total fertility rate down. They were basically focusing on bringing the birth rate down to replacement level by 2010 through vigorous implementation of intersectoral operation strategies. And for that they started working on the different strategies and creating the different centers for creating awareness among the family, creating awareness about the family planning among the ladies. So these kind of programs were, or these kind of initiative were taken by the government. Here if we talk about the National Population Policy, its main aim was to achieve a stable population by the year 2045. Clear? Means somewhere to control the birth rate, to control the growth rate of the population at a level that is consistent with the socio-economic and requirement at that time. So our focus, our target is 2045, by which we are working on controlling the population, where with the socio-economic and requirement at that time. So we are going to correlate it with the status of the people, also the condition of the society, and focusing so that the people are able to get all the access to the, so that the people are able to get the access to the available resources to them, the available resources in their country. So main focus is till 2045. And within this framework, the National Population Policy we talk about, they have several objectives. Although we know the main aim we know to control the population, but beside that also it is working on so many other things. So some of them we are going to discuss here. What are these main points that they are talking about? Under this National Population Policy, they are working on to reduce the crude birth rate, that is the main focus. Also to reduce the crude death rate and infant mortality rate also. Somewhere they are working so that everything should be under control. Second main objective is to provide basic reproductive and child care services. So different departments like ASHA and so many other departments have been started for providing these services to the people. Thirdly, third objective, if we talk about, to make school education compulsory, where the people are getting education and they are coming across the ideas, where they are able to understand the importance of education when they are getting the knowledge. That KAP program was also started. So they want more and more children to be the part of this education. Another one, to raise the age of marriage to somewhere, because if we are going to increase the age of marriage, it is going to have the impact on controlling the birth rate in our country. To provide universal immunization of children, which will help in infant mortality rate also, which will reduce the death of these infants within a year. Another objective, to provide universal access to information, counseling and services. It should not be that only the people, those who are living in cities and towns, should have this kind of access to all these information, counseling related to family planning and other services. But no, even in the rural areas, all these kind of services must be provided, and it should encourage people to be part of these welfare programs. Then the next is to control AIDS and other communicable diseases. Next, to integrate reproductive and child health services also. They are working on that. To promote vigorously the small family norms. Planning to have the small families, the number of children should be less, and that can be improved with the interconnected, like education system is there, more awareness programs they are starting. So one program or the one objective is leading to the another one. If they are going to control one point or the one factor, that will ultimately going to lead to controlling the other factor. The last, if you talk about, they have mentioned to make population program people centered, means whatever the programs they are preparing, population program they are working on, it should be people centered. It should not be imposed without understanding the requirement of the people. So all these are the objectives that comes under the national population policies, and you all must be aware about that. These are the very important, and this topic is also very important, can be asked in exams. So that was the discussion of the first part of your unit 2. Thank you.